Reincarnation, the belief that there is indeed life after death. To explain a bit further, it's the belief that our consciousness, our soul, what have you, continues to exist after the demise of our material vessel, aka our bodies. The afterlife will always be a subject of human fascination. And I can go on and on about the endless possibilities and timelines, but I don't want to get sidetracked. Either you believe in it or not. I choose to believe there is something more after death for the sake of my own sanity. Okay, for those of you who are new here, hi, my name is Alex and welcome to Death Scribbles. Today we're going to read 3 bizarre reincarnation stories, all told by children, because they're the ones that seem to recall their past lives most often. So, get comfortable, open up your mind to the endless possibilities that this universe has to offer, and let's begin. Anxiety and nail polish don't mix. In 2009, at the age of 4, Ryan Hammonds woke up clutching his chest and screaming about how his heart exploded in Hollywood. His mother, Cindy, became intrigued when Ryan revealed more details from a former life. He insisted he once lived in a house in Hollywood on a street with the name Rock in it, where he had 3 sons and a friend named Senator Fives. His mother said he would tell stories about meeting stars like Rita Hayworth, traveling overseas on lavish vacations, dancing on Broadway, and working for an agency where people would change their names. One day, Cindy was going through a book featuring photos from old Hollywood. Ryan peeked over her shoulder and excitedly identified one man as George and another as himself. That photo was a publicity shot from the 1932 movie Night After Night, starring Mae West, in her film debut. Cindy said she was shocked, and only more confused because the man Ryan pointed to was an extra on the film, with no spoken lines. Cindy contacted a psychiatrist from UVA Medical Center who conducts research on reincarnation. The child psychiatrist has spent more than a decade studying the cases of children, usually between the ages of 2 and 6 years old, who say they remember a past life. See, it's always children. He verified the man in the photo was a film star named George Raft, and the other man was Martin Martin, who died in 1964. The psychiatrist said the majority of the children he has investigated say they remember average lives. Rarely do they claim memories of someone famous. He said Rand's case is one of his most unusual because of the incredible detail he was able to provide. Upon contacting Martin's daughter, she confirmed Martin was a Hollywood agent, lived on North Roxbury Drive, had 3 sons, and once met with New York Senator Irving Ives. Senator Fives. After meeting with Martin's daughter, Ryan lost interest in his Hollywood memories. He was standoffish at the meeting and told his mother afterwards his daughter's energy has changed. The psychiatrist's explanation? Upon seeing people from their past have moved on, reincarnated children gain closure and forget their former existences. Before continuing with the next story, if you liked this video so far, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, and you can also subscribe if you so choose, and turn on that bell notification. Thank you in advance for doing so. The next story we have is about a Swedish writer who claims to be the reincarnation of Anne Frank. Barbro Karlen is a famous Swedish writer. She published her first book of poetry at the tender age of 12 and has gone on to publish many more after. At 12. I did not know I even existed at the age of 12. But her talent and love for the written word is not the only thing she's known for. Barbara claims to be the reincarnation of Anne Frank. From the time she was 2 years old, Karlen began telling her parents strange stories about someone named Anne. She claimed that her name wasn't Barbro Karlen, it was Anne Frank, and that she had nightmares of men kicking in the door of her home and taking her away. The fear would overcome her and she would wake up shaking and frightened. She had horrible dreams for as long as she could remember. She was convinced that her parents are not her real parents and that her real father would come get her. Her dual life continued on and her parents decided to take her to the psychiatrist. Afraid that no one would believe her story, Barbro decided to keep quiet. The psychiatrist informed the parents that there was nothing wrong and that she was a completely normal 6-year-old girl. He told them that they shouldn't worry and that it's probably just an imaginary friend and that she's going to grow out of it soon. When she was 10 years old, her parents took her to Amsterdam. Once there, she quickly led them to Anne's house, despite never being in Amsterdam before. Her parents didn't know what to say, but as they entered the house, Barbro began to get a really horrible feeling. This was her dream. The atmosphere was clingy. She felt a tightness in her chest. Total and undeniable fear. The dreams were suddenly real, and right in front of her. They entered the room where Anne Frank had lived. Barbro was terrified. Her hands were cold and clammy. She wanted to see it, to make sure everything was the same as she remembered. But the feelings were getting worse. Before even noticing the wall, she excitedly told her parents, "Look, the pictures are still there." But there were no pictures there. "What are you talking about?" her mother said. "The pictures were there. I know they were," Barbro replied. So her mother walked over to one of the men who worked there and asked if there had been pictures on the wall. The man replied yes. They had taken them down because people were taking them. What a shocker. People can be garbage sometimes. Then her mother realized that it was real. Everything Barbro had said was true. There was no other way her daughter could have known all of this information. She hugged and told her now she understood, and that she isn't alone anymore. The most compelling proof has to be the fact that Barbro has actually met and talked to Anne Frank's cousin, Buddy Elias. Buddy is an actor who has starred in The Love Boat, Crime Scene, and The Magic Mountain. He is also the last living relative of Anne Frank. He had heard about Barbro through her publisher, even though at that time she hadn't written her story. Buddy was intrigued and asked to meet her. He invited her to dinner. As Barbro knocked on the door, Buddy came out and they looked at each other and just fell into each other's arms. They sat for 2 hours and talked, as she realized that Buddy was the president of Anne Frank's foundation. This put him in a very vulnerable position. He wasn't sure how the other members would react to the story. When the newspapers asked if he believed that Barbro was the reincarnation of Anne, he said yes. This, of course, prompted the press to press even further, no pun intended, into the situation to the extent that Buddy had to back away from the interviews. Despite that, he still keeps in touch with Barbro once a week, and she stays with him when she visits Switzerland. It's great that they found each other. I guess she doesn't feel as alone as she did before. The third story is about a toddler that recalls writing Gone with the Wind. Ever since turning 2 years old, Lee was adamant that he had another mother and house, and by the age of 3 he claimed his birthday was on the 26th of June instead of the 21st. He also insisted that his middle name was Coe. He wrote movies for a living and had a daughter by the name of Jennifer. When his sister asked about the age at which he died, without a second thought, Lee answered 48. This, of course, piqued his parents' curiosity, and they started listing a number of movie titles to Lee, only for him to become incredibly enthusiastic when they mentioned Gone with the Wind. After a quick Google search, they found information about the movie's writer. His name was Sidney Coe Howard, born on the 26th of June, had a daughter named Jennifer, and passed away at the age of 48. This was the first time Lee's parents had ever come across this info, and were unsure of how their son could possibly know this, which left reincarnation as a very plausible explanation. Well, there you have it. 3 very different and very intriguing reincarnation stories that shine a tiny light about what we can expect after this life. Let me know what you thought about the stories, if you believe them or not, and whether you can find a better explanation than reincarnation for these occurrences. Leave your answers in a comment down below. That's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye, Darklings.